Alrighty guys, a lot has happened, as you can see, since the last time I put the camera down. We got everything back together on this thing. I did degree the cams in to what the cam card said. They were a little bit off, intake especially. It needed a little bit more manipulation, if you will, to get the intake camshaft to match what the cam card specs were. The exhaust was pretty much spot on from where it was to where it ended up. So I was a little bit weirded out by that, but it did degree in, so I don't think it was a timing issue. Plus the timing marks, they line up, so I don't think it was a timing issue. I just don't know why that one took more degreeing in than the other. But intake manifold is on and bolted. We did run into a couple issues here, and this is the problem that you find with aftermarket stuff. We found that the intake manifold was not flat, wasn't planed flat after they welded it together apparently. So we had to take that to a shop and have that flattened so that it sits nice and flat against the cylinder head, because I mean, when I tightened this down the first time, there was just a huge air gap right in the middle between the number 2 and number 3 cylinders. There was just a big old air gap. That would have been a huge intake leak, made that thing run lean, idle really high. So took that off, got it planed, got it fixed. Now it's sitting nice and flat. The exhaust also needed to be planed. You know, they needed to actually deck that because, you know, this thing running as hot as it does, you know, constant hot, cold, hot, cold, hot, cold. I know a couple of these bolts have loosened up over time, so could have put a little bit of a warp into it, but now it's sitting nice and flat on there. So both intake and exhaust are nice and flat on there. I did put the twin disc clutch on here. I gotta show you guys what I did. So we did install the twin disc on there. He went with a Clutch Masters. I believe he had an ACT on there previous, so we'll see how this Clutch Masters holds up. His ACT held up for at least 60,000 miles of him driving, so you know, we'll see if this Clutch Masters can match that. So he did put the stock fuel rail on with the stock fuel injectors, and that's just so that we can break this in on the dyno, and you know, we don't have to really turn it up to do that. But so that's on there just temporarily. He's actually looking for another fuel rail for this, so that way, you know, we can swap that out. We do have injectors for it. 2200cc injectors are going in. I'm not sure if I mentioned that before. We're running a stock distributor until we run out of its ability to produce reliable power, you know, reliable spark, I guess. So we're going to run the stock distributor, see how much power that can make. A lot of people have said they should be fine for 500. You know, for our goal, I think the stock distributor is going to be just fine. But, you know, we'll have to wait and see on that. He is going to have to block off where the idle air control valve would bolt on this, because he's just eliminating that altogether. He's going to eliminate that in the ECU. I did plug off one hole. We're waiting on a fitting so that he has a brake booster again. So once that fitting comes in, he's just going to screw that in there. And then we're also waiting on a fitting here on the water side of things. So there's just a coolant pipe fitting that needs to be waiting on that to come in. So once that's in, thread it in, and then he can hook up the coolant hose there so we don't have a massive coolant leak. Other than that, though, we went with, so we did go with a fluid damper, a harmonic balancer, and the nice thing about this one here is if Carl wants to run, he can run his alternator, air conditioner, and power steering, but if he decides he doesn't want to run power steering, he can actually unbolt the power steering pulley and save weight, if you will. But it is nice that it has this feature. You can remove the power steering pulley, you know, and you know, save a couple grams there. But that's a nice feature on that one there. I've never run the fluid damper, so I'm sure it's going to be perfectly fine. It's just something that the, you know, it was something that my buddy was able to find, and he said, let's give it a shot. I mean, it's SFI rated, so can't be that bad, can it? If you guys have run a fluid damper, let me know in the comments below, but this will be the first time that I've seen one on a car. But yeah, other than that, like I said, the engine is ready to go. All right, guys, so I didn't really film a lot of this together. It's been kind of hectic around here. There's just been nights where I've only had a few hours to come out to the garage, get this thing done, or at least get a few items put on it between cleaning parts. And I mean, Carl had 3 different transmissions. One transmission that had broken, and 2 transmissions. One he thought was going to fix it, and the second one he thought was almost certain to fix it, and both were not able to fix the transmission issue. So I pretty much took apart 3 transmissions for no reason at all, honestly, but I put 2 back together that he can use. They're both LS transmissions. He's looking for more of a GSR because he needs a GSR ring gear and a countershaft sprocket, so that way he can run his limited slip differential. So when we put all this together, it's going to be making all this power through basically one tire. So well, that should be interesting. But he does have 2 working LS transmissions right now, and we are in the process of actually building the transmission that was in the car when he purchased it. But you know, we'll have to wait till those parts come in, or really we're just kind of running out a little bit on our budget. You know, that's the way these things go. You build a race car or a high performance car, and you're going to need expensive things, and you know, as things break, they become more expensive. So because you're not going to put the same thing in, you're going to want to upgrade. But he's got that stuff figured out. Main goal right now and on his mind is to get this engine in, get the transmission, all that stuff in, mount it up, get this thing at least to the point where he can take it off to the dyno, they can break it in, and then do a couple of power runs. You know, maybe not full power. Like I said, if we don't get the fuel injectors in, we're only going to be able to make so much until we run out of injector. But at least we'll get it broken in, and he can actually put some street miles on it and make sure that the build's solid before we go and turn it up. But it's basically leaving my garage right now and heading over to Carl's garage, and then he's going to do as much filming on it as he can. And then once it's all done together, running, then we'll see it on the dyno. And like I said, hopefully we get the fuel rail by then, and we can actually turn this thing up after it's all broken in. But yeah, that's where I'm leaving this off now. Getting space in the garage. I do have another project that's going to be coming in here right after this stuff leaves, so you know, stay tuned to that. That's going to be a fun project, I think. But that's going to do it for this video, guys. If you have any questions on the build or what we didn't do, anything you would do differently, just leave it in the comments below. I look forward to hearing from you guys. But yeah, that's it. Like I said, I'm excited to see this thing running, see what this thing can do. But for now, we'll see you in the next video, guys. Thank you for checking this one out.